Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to the Monday call. As usual, this is the time if you have questions, concerns, things going well, things going poorly. Now's the time to ask them because we had some great questions out here. I think that last week or the week before, and that really helps everybody on the system. Any question you have, I'm sure other people have as well. So if you have those, send them to Missy or raise your hand or whatever. We'll get to them. But before we do that, I just want to talk about a couple of things here before we get to our pointer. And that is the first thing I want to talk about is all of you before you came on board with us had a conversation, and we asked, are you willing to follow the system? And you all said yes. And we said, are you open to coaching? And you all said yes. And he said, will you send in tapes for review? And you all said yes. But unfortunately, as usual, it's the 20-80 rule. So 20% of you have sent in tapes, 80% of you have not sent in tapes. And through talking to Jeff and talking to Jason, I've heard that the reason being is because you think that the tapes aren't good enough to send us yet, which is probably a natural inclination to think that, well, I can't send it in until it's better. But the fact is that if you really think about it, take a step back and don't think about yourself, but if you're giving advice to your son or advice to your buddy, what would you tell him? That you shouldn't send a tape in until it's good? No, what would you tell him? You should send your tape in so you get good. Guys, you have something available to you that no other advisor in the industry has, which is somebody who's willing to sit down with you. No other advisor out there has this. Somebody who's willing to sit down with you and listen to your meeting and walk you through it so you can get closer to the exact same meeting that's been used 50,000 times successfully in the last decade. I mean, the closer you can get to doing the meeting exactly the way I did it, exactly the way that the dozen guys I know that are taught to use it to make over $1 million a year, the 150 guys to double or triple their income, the closer you can get your meeting to exactly the same way they did it, the sooner you're going to double your income, or the sooner, if your desire is to make $1 million, you can make $1 million a year. But I will guarantee you, Jeff, if they do not do tape reviews, will they ever double their income? Will they ever get to have a shot at $1 million a year?
No, I don't think so, no.
So, well, have we ever seen anybody do that without tape reviews?
I haven't seen it, no.
No. So, guys, you have access to something that nobody else has, and only 20% of you are using it. So, I asked one of my favorite people to do tape reviews with to basically tell you guys what the experience is like. So that, because I know some of you think that I'm going to tear your head off or call you stupid or ridicule you, and I wanted to have you hear what, again, one of my favorite guys to do tape reviews with, because every time I do a tape review, the light bulb goes off on another part of the system, and this guy is mastering the system piece by piece, and he's going to be extremely good going forward. So, Mickey, are you on the call?
I am on the call. Can you hear me?
So, yes, perfectly. So, Mickey, we've done several tape reviews, and could you just kind of tell the people what to expect on these tape reviews? Am I a meanie? Do I tear your head off? Do you feel like a bug on a windshield when we do these?
Well, I've done several. I think I've done 3 or 4 at this point in time, and I found each one of them to be very useful. The way, in our particular situation at work, there were certain pieces of meeting 1 and 2 that we've gone through, and I recognize that as a natural inclination that if you feel you haven't done well is you don't want to share it with anybody, but I know that in some of these things I haven't done well in certain sections, and we have zeroed in on some of those and made corrections, and sometimes light bulbs have gone up, so, oh, is that what that's supposed to be? And it's difficult to do that sitting in your own office, listening to your tapes, or just making presentations. It's hard to sometimes analyze yourself and understand what the system is supposed to do. So the meetings that we've had so far have been, I would say, very useful to me to improving the way I do the presentations and meetings with the people and how the whole system is supposed to work.
Well, and as an example of that, Mickey, you are very good at memorizing the script. But did you learn things that you would never have been able to learn just by saying the script? Did we talk about how you use your tone and where you act more aggressive and where you act more passive. And I mean, so even though you had the script down word for word, did I help you understand better how you were supposed to deliver that script so that you would never have been able to get that without a one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's easy to, maybe not easy or not, but you can learn the words, but how to deliver the script and interact with your clients is as important, I think.
And when we role-played it, back and forth, so that to make sure you got not only the words but the intonation, did you feel now that, oh, I understand how this is supposed to work with the client. I understand why the client would follow through the way I asked them to follow through. Where some of the times you were using the script, the words of the script, and you're getting some pushback from the clients. But after you understood the intonation, you said the light bulb went on and said, oh, now I get why that was happening. You know, for example, we talked about last week where you kind of were boxing a client into a corner, and then when we learned, oh, that's well, can you just speak to that?
Yeah, we did a little role playing last week with respect to a couple of sections in meeting one, and it's the loyalty and the fair sections. And I was finding that I wasn't 100%. Well, I wasn't comfortable with that whole section, and I think I missed one key factor in why that I should be comfortable with it. And the thing that was making me uncomfortable, I think now I understand why that doesn't apply anymore. So I understand a lot more about how to deliver those two sections so that the client doesn't feel boxed in. We give them out so when they need out, we aren't forcing them into anything. And by following the script, there's a natural inclination for, unless you're dealing with a jerk, I guess, for the meeting to wind up, at the end, with them saying that they want to be your client or something similar to that.
Yeah, and would you have been able to learn these things, or how long would it have taken you to learn these things if you hadn't spent an hour with me doing a tape review?
I don't know if I ever would have figured it out.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, guys. That is the exact thing, is that you're walking away from a brilliant opportunity to learn something. And Mickey, now, when will you have to learn those things again?
Pardon me?
When will you have to learn those things again?
Well, I don't think if
you
I
won't
understand them, I understand them.
Yeah, if you understand them, you understand. You never have to learn again. So when will you make those mistakes again?
Hopefully never.
Hopefully never. And again, we need to, just like any professional baseball player or football player, we need to go back and review the fundamentals on a regular basis. But the fact is, you'll never have to learn those things again. So those are mistakes that, Mickey, how long have you been in the business?
In the insurance, in overall business,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah. So these are things that now going forward will never happen again. Guys, I've worked with, and Jeff, have we worked with guys that have been in the business 25 years that have been making the same mistakes for 25 years, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And as Mickey said, once you fix them, you never have to fix them again. And these are things you cannot learn by just doing meetings over and over and over again, because you're going to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. But when you listen to the tapes don't lie, and you'll see how powerful that is when you send them in. Guys, please take advantage of this. Okay? Thank you very, very much, Mickey, for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you.
And Mickey, or Missy, do we have any questions?
I do have one question. Jim asks, how do you approach the first-time agreement meeting when the couple doesn't have an advisor?
Okay, we have a do-it-yourself script that we use. So that's a whole hour meeting on how to do that. So we have a do-it-yourself script. And is that on the site, Mickey? Or Mickey? I keep saying Mickey now.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Mickey. I appreciate that. And Jim, I'll send you a chat with exactly where you can go on the site to find it.
Yeah, I was going to see if I couldn't bring that up for everybody to see here. But I think I might have closed it out, so too bad. So yeah, there's a do-it-yourself. Yes, go ahead.
Yep, it's actually right underneath the agreement meeting. There's a whole section that says agreement meeting, do-it-yourselfer. And Jim says thanks, so I think we've got it handled.
Okay, super. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the pointer I want to make this week before we get started on the actual topics, and we're going to talk about summer marketing, is how many of you know who NAPFA is? Who's NAPFA? Can we see some answers there? Yeah, NAPFA is an organization that's fee only, and what have they been saying for years now about commission salespeople? Commission salespeople, if you take commissions, you are what? Let's see some answers, guys. If you take commissions, you are what? Evil. You don't have the client's best interests at heart. I mean, they've been saying this for over and over and over, that you're a salesman, right? So NAPFA for 15 years now has been saying that if you take commissions, you are evil, that all people who take commissions are evil, and all people who are fee only are what? Ethical. Well, I just want to point out what happened here. A former chairman of the National Association of NAPFA took $47.7 million of client money and secretly invested in 2 technology companies here his firm owned, according to a 23-count federal indictment last week. Seattle investment advisor Mark Spangler, 57, was indicted by a federal grand jury Thursday on charges that include investment advisory fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering, according to the U.S. attorney. So he's the former chairman of NAPFA that did that. Of course, this is the only person that's ever happened to at NAPFA, right? This is the second high-profile investigation of former NAPFA officer. In 2009, the SEC charged James Putman, who served as NAPFA's president from 1996 to 1997, with accepting $1.24 million in kickbacks related to unregistered investment pools. So, guys, the fact is that whether you take commission or whether you take or do fee only, does that have anything to do with how ethical you are? If you take commission or you take a fee only, does that have anything to do with how ethical you are? Eric says no. I agree. It has nothing to do. And Steve says no. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with you putting the client's interests ahead of your own. That's what ethical means. So I just wanted to I know a lot of commission salespeople sometime that I talk to have kind of an inferiority complex because of what is said about them out there. Guys, some of the most ethical guys I know in this business are commission only, and some of the most ethical guys in this business I know are fee only. It has nothing to do with how they make a living. Okay, so we'll get started with what we want to talk about today, which is summer marketing. So what do you do in the summer? Well, a lot of guys spend more time with their families, and a lot of clients spend more time with their families. So things have changed a little bit in the summer when it comes to how we get in front of people. So when I say it does change a little bit, it changes a little bit for a lot of people, but it doesn't change for everybody. See, when it comes to summer, I never did a lot of seminars or events or anything like that in the summer personally, not because you can't get people in front of you, but because you get less people in front of you. But I've had other guys who, and it's the same thing during the holidays, during November and December. I didn't do them because, again, same thing. You can still get people in front of you. You just don't get as many people in front of you. So I always took those months to spend more time with my family and also to do client events and see my clients and run them through their semi-annual reviews and those types of things. So that's why I did during those months. But I've had other guys say, Mike, I understand I can't get in front of a lot of people in the summer. And for example, if I'm getting in front of 60 people during the primary months, I might only be able to get in front of 30 people in the lower months. But how else can I get in front of 30 people? So they'll still do it. It's kind of like if you think about it with the ski resort. When did the ski resorts make all their money? When do the ski resorts make all their money, guys? In the winter, when there's snow on the ground. But are there ski resorts that are open during the summer? Yeah. Do they make as much money as they do in the winter? No. So they go open because they say, hey, listen, we have 2 options here. Either number 1 is you can stay closed during the summer and make no money, or number 2, we can open during the summer and make some money. Not as much as we'll make in the winter, but we'll make some. So some advisors do go ahead and do events in the summer, and I have no problem with that. I had no problem with that if you choose to do that. I chose not to, just simply because I spent more time with my family, and I did a lot of my client work during those times. But if you want to do seminars, they're still the only way you can get in front of a big group of people in a predictable manner. But are there other things that you can do? Absolutely. So I just I would share this idea, which I thought was fantastic. An architect who was fired from his firm, laid off, not fired for anything, a problem, just that they didn't need him anymore because they didn't have enough work. So guess what he did? He went to the local farmer's market, put a booth up that said, architecture, 5 cents. And what do you think happened? Architecture, 5 cents. Guess what happened? Within a month, he had a flourishing business. Why? Because he offered, quote unquote, free advice, started to have conversations with people, and got lots of jobs that way. So that's the kind of outside of the box thinking that you need to have when it comes to summer marketing or holiday marketing. You can't maybe do the traditional things and expect the traditional response rates, but there's lots of things you can do that are not necessarily traditional that can end up being a great filler to your practice. And I guess one of my favorite gentlemen to work with is told me one time, he called me up and said, and I've told this story to you guys before, but he said, Mike, all your marketing is just average. All your marketing is just barely adequate. And I said, well, thanks, man. And he goes, well, let me explain. And I was like, and when he was saying that, I was like, geez, this guy's writing a ton of business, so I wonder why he's slamming my marketing like that. And again, this is a guy during the off season he was talking about it because he wasn't doing seminars. He was using all my other types of marketing. And so I said, I was thinking in my head, well, he's writing a lot of business. He shouldn't be slamming my marketing, or I don't know how he's getting in front of all these people. And then he kind of chuckled and said, well, here's the thing, though, Mike. I'm doing 5 of your different marketing things, and all of them are working average. I'm doing 5 of your marketing things. All of them are working average or even below average. But guess what? When I do all of them together, it's the best marketing I've ever done in my life. I'm seeing people every single week like clockwork. And that's kind of what we're talking about with this summer marketing. It's things that are not as predictable as an event. And that's why I like events. I know that when I do an event, I'm going to get in front of a bunch of people. I'm going to close a lot of those people. It's very, very predictable. The rest of the marketing you do out there is not very predictable. You don't know where the next sale is coming from. And that's the kind of things that we're going to talk about today, is that if you do enough of them, you'll have very predictable marketing. If you only do one of them, you're going to have very unpredictable marketing. Because doing any one of them by themselves, you don't know how it's going to work out. Doing them all together, you're going to have a ton of people to see, motivated people to see during the summer. So any questions on that? Okay, so the first thing you need to do is have your 5Q USP. So if you've not yet developed your 5Q USP, you need to get that done. So as a reminder to people what the 5Q USP is, it's a one-sentence USP, unique selling proposition, a one-sentence elevator statement that invariably gets people to say, when you give it to them, they'll say, well, how do you do that? And what's magical about it when they say, well, how do you do that? When they say, how do you do that, what's so magical about that? Let's see some answers to that. What have they just done? Because typically when somebody does, they're interested, right? They've asked you to talk more about what you do. They've asked you to sell them. Typically when people's elevator statements, when people say, what do you do? They say, well, I'm a wealth manager. How do people react when you say, I'm a wealth manager? Are they interested, or do they try to get away from you as soon as possible? When people ask what you do, you say, well, I'm an IRA expert. Do they try to ask for more information, or do they try to get away from you as soon as possible? See, the typical financial advisor has very, very bad unique selling propositions or elevator statements that cause people to run away from them instead of asking them, how do you do that? So on January 16th, if you go back to the archive call, on January 16th, our archive coaching calls, on January 16th, we had an hour-long presentation on exactly how you do 5Q USPs, how you create your own 5Q USP. I've actually, for people who are members of 5Q, we actually give you 5 of them that Jeff and myself created that you can use as long as you're with 5Q. So if you don't have one, send an email, and you're part of 5Q, send an email to Jeff or myself, and we'll get those to you. Or send it to support, and they'll get those to you. If you're part of 2 objects, well, then what you can do is please go back and watch that video on exactly how to do it, and it explains to you how I can critique those after you've watched that video. So the beauty of the 5Q USP is I was talking to a gentleman here about 2 months ago who had been in the business for 15 years, and he said that he used his 5Q USP, actually one that we gave him, at a business meeting with 6 business leaders in his city. And at the end of that meeting, they asked him what he did. He used the 5Q USP statement for what he did. He had 5 people ask, how do you do that? And he made 4 appointments with business leaders, big guys. And he just called me up. He said, Mike, I've been in the business 15 years. I've never had that kind of response before. Normally people, when I tell them what I do, have no interest whatsoever in meeting with me. So 4 appointments from huge guys. That's the kind of power that 5Q USP has. So you need to have one of those. It should be on your business card, your letterhead. It should be on the tip of your tongue. And I'm going to show you how you can use it here in a few minutes very, very effectively as well. But that 5Q USP can make you a ton of money during the year, and big ticket money. Okay? So any questions on 5Q USP? Okay. So the first thing you need to be done now, summer is the perfect time to make sure that you do things that you haven't done to this point because you thought, I don't have enough time to do them. And primary on that list is epidemic marketing, which is available on our site every single month, the new epidemic marketing pieces. The first one is the newsletter, snail mail newsletter, the newsletter that you're going to mail out to your clients. And then included in that is our personal organization kit gift, which is like a tip sheet or a checklist or whatever that you enclose with that newsletter. It's a little gift you can give your clients and your prospects every single month. You need to have this newsletter going out. So get that set up, because once you have it set up, it only takes you about 15 minutes a month to do it once it's set up. Take these slower months and get that newsletter going. That newsletter will make you a ton of money going forward. Not the first month, not the second month, but by the 6th month and the 12th month, it's going to be making you, getting you a new client or 2 every single month. So making $6,000 on a newsletter, that's a good thing. So get that going. The email that we send out. So this is an email I write to you for you every single month that you can send out to your clients and your prospects. And it's designed specifically for them to forward to their friends, neighbors, and relatives. Because what we find is difficult for clients to want to refer to you, but it's easy for them to forward emails. So I write it in a manner that's helpful, interesting, and in a manner that they'd want to forward it to their friends, neighbors, and relatives. So get that going. That's, again, about 15 minutes a month at the most for you to do that. Clients IQ. I pay for your Clients IQ membership. Clients IQ is by far the best internet marketing service in the industry today. And I pay for that for you, so make sure you're on there and using that. Included in there is a email broadcasting service that you use with your events. Coming into the fall, you'll be required to be using that with your events because you want to follow up with the event with with the emails, 5 or 6 emails, getting the people that did make appointments to make appointments with you. Also on there is an electronic newsletter, which is different from the newsletter at the top there, different from a snail mail newsletter. It's written differently. It's more fun. And again, it's one that people would want to forward to their friends, neighbors, relatives because we keep it very, very light and interesting. So get your Clients IQ up and running. Letter to the editor, which I write for you every single month. Make sure you're sending those into your local papers on a regular basis. The CPA attorney newsletter in the system. Make sure you have gone. This summer is a great time to do this again. To put together 2 lists. One is put together a list of all of your clients, CPAs and attorneys, and get the intro letter and the monthly letter system set up so you can be doing this every single month. This is the way you're going to get CPAs and attorneys to start to refer to you for a number of reasons. I could spend a whole hour telling you why and how it works. That's not the purpose. I want to give you some ideas today to decide how to move forward. But you need to get your CPA attorney newsletter system together. So one is your clients, CPAs and attorneys, and the other one is sit down in the Yellow Pages and look up and get all of the independent CPAs and independent or accountants and independent attorneys into a list and into your system. Again, it'll take you a day to do that, but once you have that up and running, again, it's now only 15 minutes a month to make that system work for you. Get that up and running. If you ever want to see referrals from CPAs and attorneys, this is the way to do it, okay? And then the small business newsletter. And again, this is not to get you a small business client, because where do all small businesses have all their money? In their business, their risk in their business, their time in their business, their focus in their business. So they're not interested in meeting with a financial advisor while they're running their business. But when they sell their business, that's when they need you. But that's not advertised in the newspaper. By the time it's been sold, it's all over. So you want to be in front of them before that happens. All of my biggest clients came to me from small business people that sold their business. The guys that I've talked to in the industry, their biggest clients came to them from small business people who had sold their business. We're talking $3 million, $5 million, $15 million clients when they sell their business. But you have to be in front of them before they do it. So put together a list of all the family-owned small businesses in your community. And there's a number of ways you can do that. And again, you can look in the guide or the small business system book manual on how to do that. But get that going as well. So all of these things together are probably going to take you a week to put together, but once you have them in place, it's only going to take you probably about an hour or 2 hours a month to implement all of them. So please get these going. These things are the ones where you can create whales. So you can get whales. I mean, you can get the ones that are $3 million clients, $5 million clients using these things. So don't shirk this part of the system. It's an extremely profitable, extremely effective part of the system. It's longer-term marketing, but guess what? Long-term marketing is always the best marketing. So when should you start it? If you know it's long-term, when should you start it? Right now, because if you wait 2 months, that means it's going to be 2 months plus that long-term before it starts working. Do it now. Get all of these things going now. So any questions on epidemic marketing? Okay. Another idea is have forecasting parties, and not weather forecasting, but economic forecasting parties. People are always wondering what the heck is going on. So you could have an event or right in your office space. It doesn't have to. You don't have to feed people. You don't have to whatever. You have to, but have it at a space that's cheap, easy to do, and you can just have cookies and lemonade or coffee for all intents and purposes. But people are always interested. Well, how is the election going to affect my investments? Or how is Europe's problems going to affect my investments? How is the tax sunset occurring here at the end of the year going to affect my investments? They're always interested in how things are going to affect their investments. So it's a great way for you to invite your clients and have them bring their friends, neighbors, or relatives if the topic is interesting. So think about having forecasting parties, or parties I call them, forecasting events for your clients, and have them bring their friends, neighbors, relatives. Just do it at your office or at any place you can find that's inexpensive to get a group of people together where you can cater it yourself. So it costs very, very little to do that. Okay? So any questions on that? Client advisory boards. This is where you can actually use that 5Q USP we were talking about here a few minutes ago very, very effectively. So client advisory boards are a fantastic way to get new clients and referrals and more money. And guess what they cost? They cost you donuts and coffee. That's all they cost. So, and you notice that it says client advisory boards. So, guess how many client advisory boards you can do at a time? If I've got 200 clients, guess how many client advisory boards I could do? I could do 10 client advisory boards at a time. Because you're only going to have 6 or 7 people in those in each client advisory board. So we also have a manual on how to do that. Missy said, Missy, where'd you say that is located?
It's actually underneath the archive library, and it's just called Client Advisory Board.
So in the archive library, you'll find a manual on how to do these things. So what can you do at a client advisory board? We're going to put together a bunch of clients. You don't have to feed them anything but donuts and coffee because they're doing it because they are interested in your success. And see, that's the main thing that you want to think about these client advisory boards. It gets people interested in your success. Have you ever, any of you, ever volunteered or been on a board for a charity? Can I get some answers to that? Have you ever been on a board for a charity? Anybody? So, okay, we got Frederick says it. Yes, Frederick. So when you were on the board for the charity, Frederick, did you give more to that charity that year or less to the charity that year? And more, exactly. And the same thing for me, same thing to every person I've talked to. See, when you're on the board of a charity, you feel you have more ownership in that charity. You have more ownership on whether that charity succeeds or not. You have more ownership on the success of that charity. So, and it's the same thing when you have a client advisory board. When your clients get on your client advisory board, they feel they have more ownership in your success, more ownership in you being bringing in more money or being a better advisor to them and their clients. So here's the thing, guys. When you do client advisory board, what you want to do the client advisory board is on marketing. Ask them what is the best way to market. Guess what they're going to say? Referrals. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say referrals. And when your client advisory board, and again, we walk you through exactly how to do this in the manual, when you got 6, 7 people telling you that referrals are the best way to market, and then you ask them what's the best way to get referrals, they start telling you this, and then they feel they have ownership in the fact that getting you referrals is what's going to be successful for your marketing. And any guy I've ever had do this, the minimum I've seen in referrals was 5 referrals. The most I've seen from a guy doing a client advisory board was over 20 referrals. And these are not crappy referrals. These are actually the client calling up the guy saying, you need to come in and see my guy, making personal introductions. That's the kind of thing that's going to happen. So imagine, even if you had the minimum amount of referrals of 5 from that group, if you had 10 of those groups going at one time, that's 50 referrals over the summer. And how much did you pay for that? Nothing. And I'll tell you, the other thing it does for you is they'll find money to give you, so your assets will grow with your current clients, and you're going to find out all sorts of things about your practice that you did not know. You may find that they love your receptionist, which you can then leverage in involving your receptionist more in things. Or you might find that your receptionist is irritating to them because she's impolite to them when they call. These are things that you would not find out otherwise just at the client advisory board. So client advisory boards are a fantastic investment of your time. You will see they cost you basically nothing to do. They will give you invaluable information on how to better your practice. And if you do it on marketing and referrals, you're going to find you're getting a ton of referrals that you would not have otherwise have received. This is a fantastic investment. If you have clients, you should always be running into client advisory boards, especially during the lower activity months like summer. So any questions on that, guys? Okay. The property casualty system. This is a fantastic system, guys, which costs you nothing until the property casualty agent puts you in front of people. And I know of nobody right now that's using this system, and it's a fantastic system to use. The summer is the excellent time to be working this system. Get in front of these property casualty agents. First of all, I mean, again, we walked through this in a manual on the site, so you know exactly how to do this. But what you can do is, if you have clients, an easy way to get in front of the property casualty agents is meet with your clients, ask them if they're okay with you doing an analysis of the property casualty, because everybody would like to pay less on property casualty, but most people are too lazy to actually do the footwork to do that. So I've shown you in the manual an easy way to be getting them 3 different quotes where they won't be bothered. First of all, you're doing all the work, but it's not that much work. I mean, we're talking about 5 minutes worth of work. So if you have clients, you could send 3 different property casualty agents 3 different quotes in a week. And then you go in front of them and say, if you want these kind of referrals to continue, let's talk about me doing a client appreciation event for you. So that's the way you'd approach it if you have clients. If you don't have clients, then you're just going to cold call the people, the property casualty agents, and get in front of them. And again, we have scripts for all this in the manual, and get them to allow you to do a thank you dinner for them and their clients. And again, we have scripts on how to do this. This is an excellent way to use your summer months, and it costs you nothing until they put you in front of the people. So it costs nothing to call the property casualty agent. It costs you nothing to do the marketing because they're going to do the marketing for you. They don't want to give you the list. All you're going to do is pay for the meal at the at their thank you banquet, and then they give you the permission to present to their best clients with a perceived endorsement from them. This is a fantastic way to market in the summer, but you got to go out and do the work. Again, no money up front. It's only going to cost you about $25, which because all you're doing is paying for the feeding those people that they put you in front of. It's the most effective, least expensive way for you to market, and very few guys do the legwork that's necessary to do this. Get out there and use the property casualty system. The town hall. So it's similar to, remember we talked about the forecasting event. Town halls are not necessarily about financial stuff, and it's where you have guest speakers. So again, you can do it at you can do it at your office. You can do it at any inexpensive gathering place where you can just, here all you need to have is coffee. You don't have to bring food, but you're going to have interesting speakers. You can check out your library where they'll let you do it, at grade schools if they'll let you do it there. I mean, check any place that's low cost and not considered, where they're not going to consider it like a sales presentation. So you wouldn't want to do this at a restaurant. You'd want to do it at a place where you don't have to feed people. And then you have guest speakers. And you always give the opening speech and you always give the closing speech. And then it's more of a town hall where people can ask these experts things. So you could have your local ARP representative there. You could have a member of the Geek Squad there answering technology questions. You could have a master gardener there asking gardening questions. A chef, city manager, or city official talking about city issues. Industry issues. You could have an expert that you know in the financial industry talking about issues. You could have something, and if there's something that's happening in the news, you could have maybe an attorney talking about what's happening in the news, or a police officer coming and talk what's happening about the news. So it's a way for you to become a leader in the community. Again, very, very low cost. None of these people are going to charge you to speak at your event. And it really sets you up as a leader and gets the conversation, gets people conversing with you. Now, I've had people do this before, and you'll see business sometimes from the first time you do this, but oftentimes it takes 3 or 4 months of you doing these things on a regular basis, and all of a sudden you start to get clients from that. And here's the great thing. They're rarely little clients. It's how you get big clients. Because big clients come to you not because you're selling them. They like to have the option to come to you instead of feeling like you've sold them. So this is a fantastic way to get in front of a bunch of people, form yourself as a leadership, and it does create business over time. And it's not a lot of preparation, guys, because no feeding, have some coffee there, and all you need to do is and you can advertise these at the local bulletin boards that they have all over town, whether it's at a Panera's local bulletin board or even Hardware's have bulletin boards. And then your clients and your prospect list, you can just send that out to them that you're having these things. And even if you have 5 people to begin with, you'll see that it grows and grows and grows. It's a fantastic way to become known in your community. This is the best way to brand yourself. Another way to do it, and this requires a little legwork, but it really is the most effective way for you to land whales. Very few people, including myself, I can't do this. I'm too shy to do this. But if you're not shy, this is the best way to land whales. So what matchmaking is it's you having either lunch or breakfast with 2 movers and shakers in the community. And what you need to do is a little bit of homework to think, that real estate developer, boy, he should meet this dry cleaner. And then you call them both up and say, hey, I've got 2 people I'd like you to meet. I'd like to have a lunch, or, just to get to know each other and get to know people of the community, blah, blah, blah. And you start having these lunches. And what will happen over time is you'll get to know everybody in the community, and everybody in the community is going to remember that you're the one that introduced them to other people, because business people want contacts. Business people want to meet other people because they understand. They don't know where the next stitch of business is coming from. When you're the introducer, when you're introducing one person to another person and having these intimate lunches where you're just getting to know each other, you become known as the mover and shaker in town. You become known as the guy to know in town. And when you become known as the guy that everybody wants to know in town, your marketing is all over at this point. Because you will have people calling you every day, and the big guys wanting you to take their accounts because they want to be around the guy who knows everybody in town. Like I said, best way to do it, not everybody's capable of it. I myself am not capable of doing it because I'm just too shy to do it. Now, everything up to this point, though, I'd have no problem doing and would be doing. So really anything we've talked about so far, this is the first thing that is going to fit some people like a glove, and other people are just not going to be able to do it. Everything else, though, everybody should be able to do. Okay? So any questions on matchmaking? Okay, so these things are all very, very inexpensive to do that we talked about, okay? Now, these things that I'm going to talk about now will be a little bit more expensive to do. First one is client and friends events. So you could use the Fire Floods and Taxes that we have on our site and do, and we have a letter with this that gets your clients to bring their friends. And we have a letter and a script that you use to make them bring their friends. They cannot come to these events unless they bring a friend. And these are designed to be smaller, like having maybe 5 of your clients and 5 of their friends. So you'd have up to 20 people if they brought couples. You could do it even smaller than that. You can have 3 of your clients and 3 of their friends and do it only for 12 people. And do the Fire Floods and Taxes presentation, which is much shorter. It's a half hour to 45 minutes, and gives them a lot of freebies and really makes you look like a hero, and your clients look like heroes because their friends got all sorts of information and freebies by coming, as well as a good dinner and fun and laughter and everything else. So this is a fantastic way to spend your summer because if you've got clients, this Fire Floods and Taxes with the intro letter and the scripts is a fantastic way for you to get referrals from your clients, and good referrals, okay? And you can do other things. So this is, this Fire Floods and Taxes would be for a small group of people, but you can also do your client events, your client referral events, client thank you and referral events, and inviting your clients and having them bring all of their any friends, neighbors, relatives they want to bring. And it does not cost you an arm and a leg to do this. We used to do a barbecue every single summer for all of my clients, and they'd bring their friends. And it was very, very, it was, I don't know. Missy, do you remember what that cost for us to do that? Hope, do you have your mic on? Are you there, Missy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to myself in here, I guess. So
Okay.
I was just going to say, I like $800 seems to ring a bell. It was not very much.
Not very much at all. And our clients always would ask us, when are you going to do this again? I mean, we did them every single summer. We took pictures of all of our clients, and those pictures are plastered all over. The only pictures I have in my lobby area are all of the pictures of each of the events in the collage, like where everybody's happy faces. So, I mean, these events are fantastic referral-generating events. They're fantastic for branding. They're fantastic for bringing on new clients because you actually leverage all of those things, like the pictures and things like that you get with them, and you find all sorts of money you didn't know existed at these things. So a barbecue, you could do a 4th of July cookout, an ice cream social, a wine tasting, cooking classes. I mean, you could do all, I mean, and really the possibilities are endless, and these are not very expensive to do. And if you are not having thank you dinners for your clients, or thank you events for your clients every single year, you're missing a huge opportunity. Now, my one suggestion on this is that make it something where people are walking around and forced to do things. Some guys do big banquets where the clients sit at these tables and they have speakers, and at these events we don't have speakers. It's just you shaking the hands of everybody there, having a good time. We would have magicians there. We would have a DJ there. So it'd be all fun stuff, but very, very little education. It's all about bonding and showing that you're a good guy. And I would highly recommend if you're doing thank you dinners that you do those kind of things, not having, instead of having banquets at expensive places with, these should not be expensive. I would rather, and our clients love these things, I'd rather do the inexpensive ones that are more fun and interactive and do 2 of them a year than do one that costs 4 times as much, and you spend it by giving them all sorts of, work, using a ballroom and hiring a 10-piece orchestra and all that. These are way more fun, way more interactive, and people want to have fun nowadays. So you need to be doing some sort of client event. And when you do a client event, they're going to bring friends, neighbors, relatives. You're going to also see money that you have not seen before, and it's a great way, again, to brand yourself. The monthly birthday party. This, again, we have a manual for this if you're interested in doing that. We can get it to you on how to do monthly birthday parties. And I had a guy that would bring on 3 good clients a year using this, 3 to 4 clients a year using this. And what he would do is just do 1 birthday party per month for his clients. And again, we have a manual on how to do this, but he would get a list of the people that should be invited. He would do a birthday lunch, and all he would do is have a little packet that he would give as part of the party, the birthday party favors, and then that was it. And then he'd introduce the birthday guest, and then the birthday guest would be just naturally start introducing you to all of their friends and relatives. You don't make any presentation. It's all about the guy, but you'd find that the guy was so appreciative that or the gal would be so appreciative that she starts to introduce you to all their friends as the best guy in the world. And how many of these people attending have advisors that do this for their clients? How about none? So it's another way. Again, it's just one. I just do one. Get in the habit of doing 1 every single month, and it's a great way, again, to bond with your clients and to get at people who you could not normally get at by other types of marketing. And then you can do other creative things. I mean, one of the creative things I've heard that I love the idea is doing either a driving clinic, a golfing driving clinic, where you hire a golf pro and you hire. I mean, it doesn't do it at a very inexpensive golf course. These golf courses are hurting right now, and hire out the driving range for an afternoon and do a driving range clinic. Get a pro to come in and offer to give advice as people are driving all afternoon. And you give a little presentation beforehand, a little presentation afterwards of maybe some cold beers or lemonade or whatever you want to do for refreshments afterwards. And you're walking around, greeting, talking to these people during the event. Or you can actually have a driving contest as well. So think outside the box in the summer. And if you can tie the things that you like to do to how you market during the summer, that's a fantastic way to have a great summer and to get in front of people who won't respond to other types of marketing. Okay, so this is just one idea. But you can have all sorts of other ideas, whether you like to garden, cook, or whatever. Do the same type of thing. Have a shredding event. So hire a shredding truck. Advertise the shredding event to all the local churches. All the get it into the paper for free as an event. You can even send out a press release to the radio and the TV, and it's a great way to, again, get in front of a lot of people you would not otherwise get in front of and look like you're providing a service to the community, which you are, and meet a lot of people and brand yourself. Okay? So that's another idea on how to get in front of a lot of people in summer. So all of these things together, I don't know how any one of them, because for one guy, a driving contest, he'd land 3 big clients. Another guy's going to do a driving clinic, and he might get no. He might just get a lot of contacts, but no clients. Another person might do a shredding party and get 10 new clients. Another person do a shredding party and get nothing. Another person would do a client, client banquets almost always yield some business, at least probably double, triple what it's going to cost you to do them. So they're always worthwhile. But for some people, they're going to generate $24,000 of commission, and other people are going to generate $3,000 commission from a client get together. So these are things that are not as predictable as events. That's why I love events, because events, I know exactly what I'm going to get. Every time I do an event, I know I'm going to get in front of so many people. I'm going to get so many appointments, and I'm going to close so many of those people for an average ticket size of $120,000, $130,000. I love those events because they're predictable. But if you're going to do other things, they're less predictable, and that's why you can't just do one other thing. You need to do many other things, not knowing where the next client's going to come from. It's called making your own luck. The more things you're doing, the luckier you're going to get. The less things you're doing, the less luck you're going to have. So when it comes to summer, get out there and do things that make you happy, that you find fun to do, and tie them to your marketing. Because remember, we're in an experiential economy. It goes right back to Starbucks. There are restaurants that serve coffee for free. McDonald's serves gourmet coffee for $1 a cup, but yet people will go and spend $4 or $5 at Starbucks. Why? It's for the experience. When you're marketing now, it has to be more about people having a good experience as well as learning what you have to do. But because I hope I've convinced you, or you wouldn't be on board with 5 Key or 2 Objects, that you can't just offer people learning and education because they're not interested in that. The only 2 people interested in learning and education are do-it-yourselfers, which do you want a lot of do-it-yourselfers as clients or prospects? And the second group is people with no money because they're desperate to get out of the situation. They're fine with learning things. But the people we want, people who like advisors, people who have money, they're not interested in learning. They're not interested in education. That's why they have their advisors. So they're not going to come to a learning event. They're not going to come to learn how to lower your taxes or how to invest better event. But they're all interested in doing things that are entertaining, doing things that interest them, doing things that, they're not sitting at home with their shades drawn. They want to be out doing things. You're just going to have to do things that interest them or that they find fun. And if you can do that, that's how you're going to build your business. And so I know that has nothing to do with being a financial advisor, but I think you've all been in business long enough to know that the most successful guys in your community are not guys that are the best financial advisor. They're usually mediocre at best. What they're good at is meeting people. And the way you meet people is to do things that interest people. Does that make sense? So I hope I've gotten the creative juices going. I hope you've got some ideas of how you want to use this going through the summer. Again, if you want to do events, go ahead and do events. They're not going to be as successful, but you're not going to get in front of 30 people who are prepared to buy from you any other way besides events. But if you want to take a break from events and then start them again in September, then do some of these other things I've talked about. You need to get the epidemic marketing going. You need to be looking at the property casualty and getting that going. You need to be doing a client advisory board if you have clients. You need to get that going. And then some of these other ideas that we've talked about. So any questions on this or on some ideas or any other ideas that you have that you want to share with other folks?
Michael has a hand up, so Michael, I'm going to try to unmute your phone line or your computer line. I'm not sure if you have a microphone, but go ahead and try.
Michael, can you hear me?
Okay, he doesn't have a microphone, he said. So
Okay.
hopefully your question's answered. Otherwise, go ahead and just type it in, and we'll get that taken care of too.
So Jeff, do you have anything to add on this before we let everybody go?
Well, I would say, you know, a lot of times what I tell people is it's a lot like, you know, putting out oil wells or planting oil wells. You know, it takes a little time and a little effort to get those things going. But once they're going, they just churn out results each and every month. So you have this downtime. Make sure you're doing that epidemic marketing. Make sure you're getting those client advisory boards going. Make sure you're starting that property casualty because, yeah, it takes a little effort to get those things going. But once they're going, they're just churning out results. And you don't have to spend any more money or take any more time. They're just churning out those results. And the more of those you can get going during this time, the better off you're going to be.
Thanks, Jeff. And did we get those questions then?
A couple came in here. So how about churches and retirement or legacy planning for the congregations? Do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, I personally have had experience, and I've had other guys that have had experiences too. The experience that I found is that churches are very guarded about letting other people come into their church, because then when the preacher does that, then their congregation somebody in their congregation gets mad, saying, "Well, why didn't you ask me? I could have done that, and I'm part of the church." You know, because does every church have a financial advisor, guys? Does every church have a financial advisor? Absolutely. There's somebody in that church, and probably 5 or 6 or 10 of the congregation are financial advisors, and they get pissed at the pastor if he's quote unquote endorsing or allowing a non-congregation member to come in and do an event, because they feel that they should have been the one doing that. So it seems like a great idea. Now, I've had other guys that have had some good luck with that, but I've had more people try that and strike out for that very reason, is they want us to keep it in the flock. So let's see. How do you get people to turn out when the area has been bad? What has had bad? How do you get people to turn out when the area has had bad investors? Do you know what they're talking about there, Jeff?
No, I have no idea.
How do you get people to turn out when the area has had bad investors? I'm not sure what that means.
Investors being caught stealing.
Oh, that's a great point. So, guys, first of all, you could do a town hall on that, couldn't you? You could do a town hall on that. So if you've had the areas had people, you know, Ponzi schemes, etc., you could do a town hall on that. You could actually do a forecasting event on that. But if you're asking how do you get them to go to other events, if the area's had a bunch of bad investors or bad financial advisors screwing people, what does that have to do with shredding? What does that have to do with a shredding party? What does that have to do with a golf driving party? What does that have to do with birthday parties for your clients? What does that have to do with any of these things? What does that have to do with fire floods and taxes for your clients? Because your clients are going to invite their friends, so your clients know you're not screwing them, so they're going to invite their friends to it. So the fact is that these things are the reason why you want to the very fact that there are Ponzi schemes or advisors taking advantage of people is the very reason you'd want to do these types of things. And as far as getting into the event, that's why the events work. Because our Take Your Brain for the Jog, will people show up for that even if there's been a ton of advisors screwing people? Yes, because what do they figure they're not coming for? Sure, there's going to be a little bit of financial advice, but there's going to be a lot more what? Fun. So you bring up, if you're worried about that, the fact that people aren't attending financial seminars because there's been financial advisors out there screwing people, that's the very reason, another good reason why our system works and none of the other systems out there work. Because if all you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to educate you on financial things, on taxes and on investments, etc. Oh, I'm not going to trust, that's just another financial seminar. Those people are all screwing people. Yeah, that's why everybody else's events don't work. But ours work great. Because why? We're not out there promoting what? Finance, 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 investments, investments, investments. Is that what we're talking about in any of our events? Any of our marketing, is that what we're talking about? So you bring up a good reason on why ours works and everybody else's doesn't work, because if that, especially in that kind of situation. Okay, we have, has anyone done anything with not-for-profits or fundraisers? That's a great question, Rick, and if you can do it, it's a fantastic way to get in front of people. It has a lot to do with, though, who you know in town, and it requires, as Jeff said, a lot of groundwork to do that. So you're going to have to become a member of those organizations and then get on the board of those organizations before you're going to leverage anything like that. And you're going to have to be totally vested. You're going to have to choose an organization that you truly believe in, because they're only going to allow you, they're buying your passion. And so you better have a lot of passion for that particular nonprofit in order for them to trust you. So it's not something, it's very, very rare that you can walk into a nonprofit and say, hey, I have a great idea for you, let's do this. They're going to be very suspicious of you and your motives if you do that. So the way you get into nonprofits is actually find a nonprofit you believe in and get involved with that nonprofit. Get on the board, get active, make yourself unreplaceable to them. That's how you can really leverage nonprofits. I mean, would you add anything to that, Jeff?
No, my experience with guys that have tried that is the same. It's a lot of work. You really have to be involved. It's not something you're just going to walk in and be able to do. But if you do have the connections and you're already involved, then yeah, I think it's definitely worth pursuing. It's just not something that most guys are going to be able to just take and run with right away.
Yeah, because you can't really walk into a nonprofit and say, hey, I've got this great idea, because they're going to be very suspicious of you and your motives. And they have to really protect their brand, and they have to really protect their donators, so they're going to insulate them from anybody who could possibly ruin that for them. So, but if you know somebody, then you can start to leverage that. But the best way to do it is become involved yourself. Good questions. Anything else before I let you guys go?
I don't see anything else that came in.
Excellent. Super then. Well, guys, I hope I got you thinking about some of the things you do in the summer. Again, I'm not saying don't do events, but I'm saying, you go in there knowing you're going to get less people showing up, but how else can you get those that in front of even less people that are motivated, ready to buy, and you have a much higher likelihood of a predictable outcome. With these other things, as Jeff said, you got to put in a bunch of oil wells, and then they'll start to produce for you. And the more that you do, the luckier you're going to get. But get the things you must take from this. Get your epidemic marketing going. Get the client, if you have clients, get your client advisory board going, and get your property casualty going. There's no excuse not to do those three things. Okay? Well, I appreciate everybody being on the call, and I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, guys.